Welcome to another episode of Whispers of the Womb and a transformative journey with Sarah Oxley, a dedicated yoga teacher from the serene landscapes of Buckinghamshire in the UK. Sarah delves into the profound wisdom of yoga, unveiling its ability to empower individuals with a sense of control. She shares her own revelation that positive changes are within reach, requiring a blend of patience and groundwork for true wellness. In a world where medical expertise is finite, Sarah champions the idea that having control over your own body is a potent force. She highlights the power of learning to navigate one's desires and actions, emphasizing that understanding when and how to make choices is a pivotal aspect of personal growth. Sarah's teaching style is a unique fusion of various yoga traditions, guided by the overarching principles of moving better and feeling better. With a focus on alignment and functional movement, she seamlessly weaves elements from floor yoga, vinyasa, and strength-building drills into her sessions. As a seasoned yoga therapist, Sarah also integrates the wisdom of the seasons, creating a holistic and dynamic approach to well-being. Join us as we discuss how to embrace a journey to a healthier, more empowered you. Sarah, it's great to have you part of the Whispers of the Womb podcast tribe. So I'd love for you to share with the listeners about your journey through wellness.
Hi, I am super excited to be here. I'm really happy that you invited me on. My journey into wellness probably started like a lot of people's journey to wellness, when something goes wrong. And then you have to suddenly stop and pay attention to what is going on. It's like a wake-up call, isn't it? So for me, I had always been into fitness. I loved going to the gym. I loved going out for runs. I loved pushing my body. And then I got pregnant. And then I had 3 beautiful children who I loved a bit. But afterwards, my body changed. And I had issues with my pelvic floor, which many listeners might understand. My body felt like an alien. And even though I made an effort to go back to what I was doing before, going to the gym and trying to go back to running and all those lovely kind of things to help me keep fit, it wasn't working. I just felt like I was getting injured all the time. My body just didn't seem to work for me the way it did before. So I really felt like something was missing. And that was when I really started to get into my yoga practice. And when I started practicing yoga, I felt that little bit better. And I noticed that I started treating myself a little bit better. So it was from that I decided to become to train as a yoga teacher. And through that, it opened a whole new world, including diet, a better diet, a better way of treating yourself, and a better way of moving your body. And it was from all of that I started to repair myself and got back to feeling a lot of better and a lot healthier.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think most of us yoga teachers, we do go down that journey of like learning how to do the asana practice and, you know, going through sun salutations and all the anatomy side. But it really does take you down that journey of how to live your life with yoga off the mat as well, which is one of obviously the yoga sutras that we study. Where you do kind of really get an insight into what you should be putting into your body, how you should be thinking, how you should be mindfully doing things. So thanks for sharing that. That was really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it just helps you realize that you have to work with your body, and and it helps you to recognize certain behaviors that keep you trapped in a certain way. Because when things do go wrong, when I did have the issues that I had after my pregnancies, you can just sit there and just tell yourself that life is incredibly unfair. You have other people telling you that, well, what do you expect? You've had 3 children. This is your life now. And you could just accept it and go down that road and feel very disempowered that you can't change anything. But with my yoga practice, it helped me realize that that was wrong, and that you do have the power to change things. You do have the power to change your attitude into wellness, and know that you have a lot of control. You have control. You can empower yourself to make changes that are going to positively affect your health, rather than sitting there and I know it sounds a bit harsh to myself, actually, looking back, thinking, oh, life is so unkind, and why can't somebody fix me? Why can't you just, give me a pill, make it all go away? It teaches you that you have a lot of control. Whether you realize it or not, you do have control, and you can make positive changes to your life. And I think that was my biggest learning curve in terms of creating wellness for myself, in knowing that if I want to change things, I can change things. I just need a little bit of patience, and I need to do a little bit of groundwork and then the change can happen.
It is a little bit unfair sometimes to expect the medical experts to know everything, isn't it? And like you say, having that control over your own body is so powerful. And you learn to know what you like, what you want to do, when you want to do it. And I think that is really powerful. And so what types of yoga do you teach? What's your niche? What do you really sort of specialize in where you live?
I don't specialize in a particular style. I like the way I was trained was to use all the styles of yoga and make it your own. So my philosophy, my main teaching style, comes under the umbrella of moving better and feeling better. So I guess in that respect, I'm all for a more alignment and functional movement approach to yoga. So I will incorporate elements of flow yoga, vinyasa, and also strength yoga. So building better strength, mobility drills. And because of my training as a seasonal yoga therapist, I like to incorporate the seasons in my teachings as well, because it's been shown to me that it's quite common sense to adapt your practice as we move through the years, because the energy outside changes. So should our movement practice. And by adapting our movement practice, we can help ourselves feel better upstairs in our mind as well. So it's like a juicy combination. And then I kind of adapt it, according to the season that we're in.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you're saying that we should adapt our practice, because it does get a bit stagnant, and you don't want to be just doing the same thing over and over again. You want to be nurturing your body in different ways. So that's great. I love that. And you mentioned earlier about pelvic floor after your pregnancy, and obviously there's going to be listeners who've probably had that issue. So what 3 tips could you give to our listeners to support that area of the body? Like, what did you discover when this was your sort of problem area?
Yeah. I mean, what I haven't said is, as well as teaching like general classes, I do specialise in pre and postnatal. And one of the reasons for specialising was because of my own experience with my pelvic floor. After the birth of my third child, I had really bad problems. I mean, I couldn't go anywhere without a tender lady, and I imagine some listeners are going to kind of understand how that feels. I had to be terribly organized. So, for example, if I was going to go out to the park and, you know, play with the kids, you know, back a ball about what you try and do with your children, I would have to make sure that I had one on for those whoops moments, because I had very little control. And like I mentioned before, at the very beginning, I was told by well-meaning people, you know, they were just trying to make me feel better. You know, it's a fact of life. You've had 3 kids. You are going to have whoops moments. Your belly isn't going to feel like your own. Your body isn't going to feel like your own. You know, things are not going to be the same, Sarah. But it made me so depressed. I felt like an old woman. I was 36 years old. I didn't feel connected to my body. I felt my body had betrayed me, you know, because I couldn't do a class. I couldn't do jumping jack. I mean, come on. I just felt awful, you know. Oh, everyone was happily jumping around, and then I was doing a half jack. And, you know, I mean, I laugh about it now, but you could see around the room anybody else who was having issues as well, because there'd either be a toilet break, someone going to the toilet in the middle of the class, or someone doing, you know, a half jumping jack, because I can't jump. I can't jump without it all going wrong. What I didn't kind of connect at the time, but looking back, you know, the connection was very, you know, well, obvious now, was the fact that I was getting injuries. I was, you know, I'd do a body pump class and I'll think, well, this is great because I'm not jumping around. And yeah, okay, I can't really connect to my core, but it's okay. I'm going to push weights around. And I was getting injured. So by the time I did my teacher training, I was at the point where I thought, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to spend the next 40, 50 years having to kind of walk around with a tender lady and feeling so unhappy, because it was really making me feel like life wasn't worth, you know, there was no joy anymore, because I had to think about it all the time.
Yeah, you've got no control, and like you say, it literally rules your life.
Yeah. It's all you think about. You wake up and think pelvic floor. I need a wee, and then I need another wee before I go out. It's it's just an awful way to live. And I just had enough by my teacher training, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to learn about yoga, because yoga is the only thing that's actually I can do, and that's making me feel better. You know, I want to learn a little bit more and see if that's going to help me get it back, because nothing else could help me. And I did see the pelvic physios, you know, I did all the stuff you're meant to do. Do your Kegels, see the pelvic physio. And they got to a point where they said, but there's nothing we can do for you. You know, that we're at the end of the line. And that was why I had surgery in the end, which did fix the problem, but I still didn't have a good connection with my pelvic floor or core. And I thought, well, if I haven't got a good connection, then in 10 years' time, I might be back where I started. I might have the same problem. So, you know, that was why it became a little passion of mine. I thought, right, I want to learn as much as I can to help me sort myself out, because if no one else can, there's only one person left, and that's me. And I was very lucky to do a teacher training that was so therapeutic in its basis. It's all about healthy movement, healthy alignment. And as I went through the first year of the training, I noticed changes, massive changes. You know, I was thinking less about my pelvic floor. Because I was having less whoops moments. And I was starting to feel my core. I'd never felt my core before in my life. You know, I can still remember the day, and I was like crying because I thought, oh my gosh, I understand what you mean, what you've been trying to tell me, because I was starting to feel it, and I was thinking, oh, so why is this happening? You know, I'm beginning to learn a bit more about yoga, and I'm starting to feel even more. I'm starting to connect even more. My body's moving better. It's working better. And as I kind of looked into it, I realized that the answer wasn't actually that complicated. It was sort your breathing out, sort your alignment out, move better. You know, your pelvic floor will get better. So does that answer your question? I've realized
it does. Yeah, it does. You had me thinking there, and it was kind of like, I haven't had children, but I've had very similar problems as you have, and that was because of surgery that went wrong. So for the listeners, I had an oophorectomy, and I've had endometriosis all my life, and it was really complicated surgery, and then I got sepsis. And then I had to have emergency surgery for necrotizing fasciitis. And one of the things that happened to me in recovery was exactly the same. I mean, I was once asked to keep a record of how many times I went to the toilet in a 24-hour period. And it was something like 65 times. And it wasn't just a little bit of wee, it was like a lot of wee. It wasn't just, and that's what they said to me, well, just wear pads. I was like, I don't want to just wear pads. And they gave me the whole spiel of, oh, well, your body's gone through surgery, it's gone through a lot, blah, blah. And even as a yoga teacher, I struggled to know what to do because I couldn't feel my core. I had that connection before, but now it was gone, and that pain. And I did exactly what you've just explained there, was get back to my breath, get back to breathing properly, understand how that breath can move around your body, because it's so powerful, isn't it? Having that breath work to be able to control what's going on internally.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just seems so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
breathe.
it's after all the pain and anguish you go through, to then realize that you can just fix something by breathing well.
Mm-hmm.
And helping your body work inside, like you said, as well as outside, then it was such a revelation. And I was really angry for a while.
Yes, always are.
It was a year I've wasted. And it comes down to the breath, and it works. And I see it through my private clients that come to me, and they are at the end of their tether.
Mm-hmm.
They are having issues with their pelvic floor. They are done. They're fed up with their flabby core, as they say. And they kind of come as the last resort. They've tried the physio, they've tried everything, and nothing's working. And then I say to them, trust me, get your breathing right.
Mm-hmm.
We can move on to the road of healing. And they just look at me as if I've come from another planet. But
and it's so cool because it's free.
Yeah, absolutely. But a few weeks down the line, they everything changes, and they're like, oh my goodness, Sarah, I can feel this for the first time in however long. And it's such a magical moment, because all the frustration and the upset and the turmoil comes flooding out, like a wealth of emotion that is just released, because suddenly they can see light. There's light at the end of the tunnel. You can see light beyond the tenor lady. It's a beautiful moment.
It is. I know. And
me
it
chuck my
transforms.
tenor ladies in the bin. Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. It was
And it does transform your life, because that depression leaves your body, that anxiety, that whole worry of where's there going to be a toilet, that all of that just consumes you every day. And to have the knowledge of breathing, keeping those cortisol levels down, and just really just allowing the body to be in that nice state of rest and digest is what we need. Yeah.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, it's finding that equilibrium again.
Mm-hmm.
And it works, doesn't it? Because then you trust your body, and you feel that change in your mindset as well. It's a hell of a lot calmer, because the trust has come back. Your self-confidence comes back. So you're down the right road.
Yeah.
And stay down the right road. Yeah.
And I know when we first met, we talked about, as yoga teachers, when we're studying, we learn all about alignment and, cues for alignment in different postures. And we get to understand how kind of, I guess, awakening alignment can be, because it can be just something so simple that you're not doing right in life. And it's like a light bulb moment when someone says, do this. Can you share your alignment journey with the listeners? Because it's quite it's an interesting and an empowering one.
Yeah, long journey. It took me a long time to recognize it. I was a reluctant learner, especially at the beginning. But I think it was like you said earlier, because I couldn't feel.
Yeah.
I couldn't feel. And for me, the light bulb moment happened when I started to feel. So I think what I've learned over the years, because there is a lot of talk about, good posture, good alignment. And I think we can, there's a danger of us getting too rigid, like we should always be in this kind of straight, tall spine posture all the time. Which I think, yes, to a certain degree, but it's not the whole story. Our bodies are meant to move. And I think the problem that most of us have is that we're stuck in certain unhelpful postures for long periods of time. So I think everyone's probably going to work out what I'm going to say next, like sitting. And when your body is stuck in one position, it just can't work properly. So when I think about alignment, I'm thinking about putting the body back in positions where it can find its optimum working position. So the rib cage sits nicely on the pelvis for most of the time, which will help our diaphragm work better, and then we breathe better. Our pelvic floor will work with the diaphragm as it's meant to do. When we're in positions like we're sitting and we're slumping, what we don't realize is that our diaphragm ceases to work as well as it could. And when our diaphragm doesn't move, our pelvic floor doesn't move. And that's when we start to head towards, I hate the word dysfunction, but pelvic floor dysfunction is basically what it's called, isn't it? When something goes wrong with the pelvic floor. And it also takes your abs out the equation as well, because, the diaphragm is connected to your abdominals as well. So when you breathe with your diaphragm, not only are you helping your pelvic floor release and contract like it's meant to, but you're also releasing and contracting your core without having to do sit-ups. This is what I love about it. All right, when you're in a less optimal position for a long period of time, that relationship can't happen. So, you know, for me, there is a lot of element with moving your body and positioning your body for the majority of the time that helps it to work well. Yeah.
And then you get better bowel function. You know, all your organs are functioning at the optimum level as well, aren't they? Because they're not compressed and contracted into a place that they don't want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And the beauty of a diaphragmatic breath is it also massages the organs. So every time you breathe, you know, your heart's getting a little massage, you know, and the organs below are getting a beautiful massage. And the other thing I didn't mention is that when you do improve your alignment, the majority of the time, the bones, I think I've already mentioned the bones stacking. So your rib cage is on top of your pelvis, happy days. Your head's going to sit in a better place as well. And when your bones are in a better place, your muscles sit in their happy place, and when they sit in their happy place, they work better. So you know, everybody's happy in your body, and when everything sits in the right place, you get better circulation, better lymphatic flow. So
your blood flowing, and the meridians kind of sending those messages up to the brain, and it's all connected, isn't it? We're like this little computer system going on.
Absolutely, and that's what I love about it, and that's why you feel better. You know, you just feel better. You can feel it. You feel a lot happier. You feel a lot calmer. You know, much more calmer than if you were to kind of be in a position that's, you know, or slumpy, for want of a better word. You know, you know, you just don't feel the same. The energy changes because everything's a bit out of sync. Okay, but
it's automatic as well. When you do slump, you kind of tense, don't you? You can clench your jaw, you're clenching you know, like you watch some people when they're driving and they're like gripping onto the steering wheel, and they get really angry, and you just think, just calm down. If you just sat better, more upright. And breathe.
Yeah, breathe. You know, breathing has changed my my driving status. I'm a lot calmer now that I breathe. You know, I make sure I breathe. The more you practice, the more it becomes natural. So it's not so much I must breathe with my diaphragm. You know, with practice, it becomes natural. You find yourself, you're like, you don't get worked up. You know, you're looking around and everyone's getting, you know, traffic lights. You know, someone's digging up the road again. Great. You know, you don't get as troubled by it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, that's what I love about it. There's a domino effect that, you know, like you said, it comes off the mat as well as on the mat. Which I love.
And so, Sarah, what's the most unexpected source of inspiration that you've found over how many decades you've been doing this now? What's been your biggest takeaway from improving your overall well-being? What would you say that was?
Well, the first is the value of movement. Simple as that. The definite. You have to move. You cannot expect to have a healthy, happy body if you don't move it. I think that has been the biggest lesson, and to move it in a variety of ways, and to enjoy moving it, because if you popular saying, overused, if you don't use it, you lose it. And it's the same with your body. Another thing that's had a profound influence on wellness was my journey through seasonal yoga therapy, because to be honest, I didn't really bother. I didn't really worry about how the energy of nature or the moon even, how it affected, your health and well-being, and how it can really support you. Like to take an example, and a lot of people, I think we can all kind of recognize this this rushing around syndrome that we all have. When it comes to the season of winter, which in seasonal yoga therapy, you see as the yinnest time of the year. It's meant to be the slowest time of the year. It's meant to be the time of year where we hibernate. When we rest. I mean, how many of us actually do that
in December?
And I remember when I first learned about it thinking, oh my goodness, I rush around. I staying up late. I'm like really busy towards Christmas. I'm out all the time. And do you know that? Is that why I feel so tired, resentful? Is that why I'm ill all the time over Christmas? And I started to realize that my behavior, the fact that I didn't adapt it seasonally, was affecting my health in ways that I never made those connections, and it made me stop, think, and reevaluate. And so now, and I know it's difficult, I have to rein myself in, but when it comes to, moving into the inner months, I'm scheduling rest. That's in my diary now. It's today I've got half an hour. I'm going to do some restorative yoga, and I'm very tuned in to how my body is. So if I get any messages that are saying, "Look, Sarah, we're not coping. We're tired. We're not sleeping. You're irritable." I take that cue and think, right, I need to slow down. I need to let something go, or I need to, delegate. Goodness me.
I love it.
I'm getting better. So I think that has been the biggest contribution in my wellness, because I think it sits with yoga, the whole practice of yoga, so naturally, because at the end of the day, yoga is a practice where we are aiming to feel better in ourselves, to love ourselves better, to love our bodies, to appreciate this vehicle that we live in, and to appreciate, the beautiful messiness of our minds. And I think by linking it to other wellness modalities, we are really supporting our health and well-being. And my life had changed for the better because of it, because it also helps you assess your diet, for example. I mean, who knew I shouldn't eat dairy?
Yes, me too.
I was very mucusy, and I thought, well, that's just me. I'm a mucusy kind of person. I've always had sinus issues, it's just me. It's my genes. Gave up dairy. Oh my goodness.
Game changer.
No mucus problems, no more sinus problems. I thought, oh my goodness, this is magic. But it's not. It's just getting that depth of awareness of, who you are,
and what fuel your body needs to just, and we're all so similar, but we're all so different. And that's what we need to be looking at, don't we?
Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. The fact that we're different as well. Each one of us are nourished by different things. Both the way we interact with our environment, but what we put into our bodies as well. And I find it fascinating, getting to know myself and thinking, oh my goodness, this is why I feel like this. It's just a really good way of getting to know yourself. And I think the more you get to know yourself, the more you accept yourself and know that there's nothing wrong with you. You are perfect the way you are.
Yeah, and then that allows you to create your own boundaries and, be kind to yourself. Like you say, putting 30 minutes in your diary is so empowering, just to put
Mm.
the words rest, 30
Yeah,
minutes.
absolutely. And I've never done that before. Not in a million years, because resting was being lazy. The old
Yeah.
self, it was like, I can't rest. That's unproductive.
I'm not ill. I'm not ill.
I'm
Why
not
should I be
ill.
why
Yeah,
should I be lying down?
I'm going to be lazy. I'm lazy if I rest.
Yeah.
I could do so many things in that half an hour, and it took me a while to say, yeah, but Sarah, come on, love, if you carry on, how are you going to feel?
Mm-hmm.
Tired, resentful. When I take that rest, I'm so productive
I was
afterwards.
just gonna say that. Yeah.
And I think once you learn the value of why you're doing something and how it's changing you in subtle ways, same with the alignment, the same with, the breathing well,
Mm-hmm.
then you hang on to it, because you realize that it's taking you to a better place and helping you to enjoy life. I mean,
It's
nice
like
people.
it's like having your own little kind of pharmacy, isn't it? It's your own,
Yes.
yeah, your little own wellness buffet. Like, oh, well, I'm going to have some of that and some of that today, and making
Mm,
your own little concoction just for that day. And it's so empowering.
mm, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So so the alignment, the seasonal yoga aspects, and the aspects of yoga as well, the philosophy. Before my training, I was never much into the yamas and niyamas. So, I was, shouldn't really admit this, but I like the shapes of yoga. I wanted to do
Yeah.
crow pose, and very vain, but since becoming a student of yoga, a serious student of yoga, you kind of get sucked down that road, because you realize that yoga is a massive toolbox that really looks after you,
Yeah.
and you just pick from the toolbox, what do I need?
What can I try? What can,
What can I try?
yeah. And
What's gonna
it
work?
is so much more than the postures, isn't it? It's just
Mhm.
a whole different world of just enjoyment, and like you say, delving into the history, and it is beautiful.
Yeah. That being said, there's nothing wrong with going into yoga, just doing the physical practice.
Yeah, true.
We all have to start somewhere, but
Mhm.
there's just something magical about yoga that kind of keeps you there. Once you start it and you get into it, then you want more.
Yeah, and especially like what we were saying at the beginning, if you've got to a point in your life where everyone's telling you, well, this is it, this is your life, and you're like, well, I'm not happy with this, then yoga can fundamentally change your life, regardless of what the problem is.
Yeah.
It's there for everybody with every problem.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I see yoga as my best MOT buddy.
Yeah.
It really, you think that it might not get you through a certain challenge in your life, whether that's a physical or mental challenge, but it does.
Hmm.
It's there for you. And, I'm so incredibly I feel so incredibly fortunate that I found this practice, and
Yeah.
that I know it's going to grow with me. I mean, the yoga that I practice now is not the yoga that I practiced 20 years ago. It's
Hmm.
completely changed, and it molds with you, it grows with you, and it teaches you. So whatever you're going through, there's an element of yoga that can be your little buddy on your shoulder saying, it's okay, you got this, you can deal with it.
Yeah.
you, you know
Hmm.
yeah, which is what I love about practice.
Oh, well, thanks for this, Sarah. It's been so lovely. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with the listeners right now? I know we're going to put your links of how to get in touch with you in the description,
I'm
but if
on
there's anything...
Facebook, Facebook, Instagram. I have a website as well. Yeah, so if anyone wants to DM me, that's discover more of what I do, I'll be happy to hear from you. I teach private yoga, group classes. I have a nice little small garden studio. So if you're looking for, if the prospect of going to a massive group class is really daunting, then I run very small, intimate classes for people who just want to have that little more bespoke kind of experience. And obviously, I also run pre and postnatal classes as well. So yeah, I'd be happy to hear from anyone.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. It's been lovely to have you on the podcast today.
Oh, it's been great to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
As we draw the curtains on today's insightful conversation with Sarah, I want to remind you of the incredible journey awaiting you through the 12-week Wellness to Womb programme. This transformative experience, guided by the expertise of your coach, that's me, Suzanne Lawson, is designed to usher positive changes into your life. Whether you're seeking to enhance your physical well-being, mental health, or delve into the realms of gynecology and hormonal health, the Wellness to Womb programme is a beacon of holistic support. With my wealth of knowledge and nurturing approach, I'm ready to accompany you on this profound journey of self-discovery and well-being. For additional insights, resources, and links mentioned in today's episode with Sarah, be sure to check out the show notes. The path to a healthier, more empowered you begins here, and we can't wait for you to embark on this transformative experience. Until next time, take care and embrace the power of positive change.